Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. Thank you for being here. Jury selection in the murder trial of Lorivalo started today in the Ada County Courthouse in Boise. Valo is facing charges of murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the deaths of her own two kids, JJ and Tylee, as well as her husband's late wife, Tammy Daybell.
This case has captured national attention, and as a result, the beginning jury pool was massive. About 1,800 potential jurors in Boise were given instructions and a 20-page questionnaire before anyone ever even stepped foot in the courtroom. KREM 2's Shannon Mowdy has more on that process tonight.
Of those nearly 2,000 potential jurors, the prosecution and defense will eventually narrow the jury down to just 18, 12 jurors and 6 alternates. The process of voir dire, or jury questioning, started Monday at the Ada County Courthouse. That could take multiple days of a trial that could take 10 or 12 weeks total. There are no cameras in the courtroom, but our sister station KTVB was able to remotely view parts of the jury questioning. Potential jurors were asked about their ability to serve that entire time. Other questions involved whether jurors could handle viewing autopsy photos and about the pretrial publicity of the case.
If she is convicted, Lorivalo will not be facing the death penalty. Late last month, the judge took that off the table after prosecutors disclosed some evidence late, not leaving Valo's attorneys enough time to prepare a death defense.
To dig deeper into the jury selection process, our Boise sister station talked to Jeffrey Brownson, a criminal defense lawyer there in Idaho. He has no connection to the Valo trial, but he says this week is a very important part of the process for everyone involved.
When picking the jury, Brownson says it's not about finding who you want, but rather eliminating potential jurors you don't want.
You're not actually picking who's going to be on the jury. You're actually picking people who you want off of your jury. You're using your challenges, whether it be a challenge for cause or a peremptory challenge. You're actually picking people who you don't want on your jury.
The potential jurors for the Valo trial were first evaluated with a questionnaire. He says it's very common for large trials with bigger pools of jurors. It helps establish a baseline of every potential juror.
For an in-depth look at the Lorivalo case, check out KREM 2 Plus. Right now we have a special looking back at how the investigation unfolded. KREM 2 Plus is available for free right now on Roku and Amazon Fire.
In other big news, former President Donald Trump is expected to be booked and arraigned tomorrow on charges related to a hush money probe. His supporters have been protesting since the official indictment was announced just last week.
The former president arrived in New York this morning. He's expected to spend the night at Trump Tower before turning himself into authorities. And coming up in about 10 minutes, we took a closer look at the charges that Trump could face tomorrow. Well, topping global headlines tonight, 20 people are dead and several others missing after a landslide in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 8 women and 13 children were killed when that landslide hit a river where people were washing clothes and dishes. Rescue efforts are still underway at this hour. One person survived and is being treated at a local hospital.
Whoa. Oh my God.
This is pretty incredible. This is new video showing that catastrophic tornado that just ripped through Little Rock, Arkansas last week. A woman and her husband were trying to film the moment that they found themselves in the middle of that tornado. And as you can see, it's moving closer. The wind is picking up. She's trying to hold that door shut. Well, it didn't work. The door rips open. It sucked her right out of the building. The woman and her husband were only minorly hurt, but she says that she learned the hard way not to try and record a storm, but instead find shelter.
Jeez.
Wow.
My goodness.
And it happens so fast.
Yeah, glad they're okay.
No kidding. All right, let's talk about weather here now. Another day with spring-like weather, and we don't necessarily mean like, you know, the sun shining and it's warm outside.
Right.
No, we don't mean any of that.
Yeah, when you say spring, I'm thinking sunshine and flowers and all that. Instead, today, Jeremy, we got like snow and grapple here in the inland Northwest. Kind of rude, I would say.
Yes.
Mark, it's those April showers. You know what they say? April showers bring May flowers.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that.
I don't think they
didn't.
meant snow showers.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you know what Mayflowers bring?
No, what?
Pilgrims. 33 degrees outside right now. Quite cool with clouds building back in across much of the region. And right now we have a big atmospheric trough overhead. And that big atmospheric trough plays a huge role in the type of precipitation we see. Sure, it's spring, but when you get cold air moving in from up to the north, what winds up happening is that cools the atmosphere so much overhead that what falls on us is either snow or graupel. Graupel is basically those little Dippin' Dots that you see falling from the sky. Tomorrow starts out with a mix of clouds and sun, and by tomorrow afternoon, looks like another round of those scattered showers taking us into the evening commute, and that's basically that graupel doing what it does. And then it falls apart overnight, and Wednesday looks to be much better across much of the inland northwest. In fact, it's likely we climb back into the 50s with a little sunshine. That's the spring weather we're all wanting.
All right. Good joke, by the way. You got me, Jeremy. Appreciate it. All right, now to our night beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. Today, Eastern Washington Representative Kathy McMorris-Rodgers was in Spokane Valley hosting a town hall for voters.
Representative McMorris-Rodgers spoke on a wide range of issues, including fentanyl, banning TikTok, and gun control. KREM 2 spoke with her after that town hall about her reaction to recent school shootings.
Closing the loopholes in the background checks, I've supported that legislation. I'm supporting legislation that would open up a crisis line so that individuals could report anonymously if there's an individual of concern. I believe that we need to be smart. I've introduced technology to schools in Eastern Washington that is really smart on detecting this kind of a situation before it gets out of control.
Representative Rodgers voted no against the most recent 2020 assault weapons ban in the House.
Today, Washington's mask mandate inside healthcare facilities is officially over. However, you may still need to mask up in certain locations. For Providence health facilities, for example, a mask is going to be required for any patient that exhibits any sign of COVID or other respiratory illness. A mask will also be necessary for any person that tested positive within 10 days of a visit to the hospital. The same recommendation is going to apply for hallways and waiting areas.
The Northern Lakes Fire Department has begun training its largest class of recruits ever. The group of 13 new recruits was hired last month, and once they graduate from their training, they will be serving the Greater Hayden, Rathdrum, and Twin Lakes areas. They practice mock rescue calls in the meantime to prepare for the real situations.
It's just amazing work. I come from a heavy fire background with my father being a firefighter as well, and so that's what kind of got me into the industry at a very young age in the early grade school years. So to be able to be out here and doing it and making everybody proud.
Northern Lakes was able to hire all of those new recruits thanks to a $4.5 million grant the district received in September. By the way, those 13 recruits will graduate on April 22nd.
And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just text us the word night to 509-448-2000 and we'll send them right to your phone.
Well, a construction alert now for those who use Highway 95 near Coeur d'Alene. Starting on Wednesday, crews will begin widening US 95 from 1 to 2 lanes. Construction is expected to last 4 months. It will close off access for southbound travelers from Lincoln Way and Walnut Avenue.
The project is expected to end near the Spokane River Bridge. The Idaho Department of Transportation is recommending drivers plan for extra time out on the road.
The Garland Theater in Spokane has been open since 1945, but now it may be in danger of closing its doors.
According to the owner, the pandemic, minimum wage increase, and inflation have put a strain on the business. Now, Vintage Print owner Chris Bovey is spearheading a new effort to save the theater. He started a GoFundMe that's already gaining traction.
There's a deep appreciation, there's a deep sense of urgency to try and get this thing saved, and try to keep it going for the next generation.
So right now, the goal of the fundraiser is to reach $300,000. As of this afternoon, they've raised almost $6,000.
At least 25 freight train cars derailed in Montana. The derailments caused hundreds of cases of beer to spill into the river about 200 miles northwest of Bozeman.
A Sanders County Sheriff's Office dispatcher says that there doesn't appear to be any kind of hazardous material that was on board or that spilled. There haven't been any injuries either. The company that owns the train is now investigating what happened.
We'll continue to have boots on the ground out here again, trying to get to the cause and obviously get things mitigated and cleaned up as swiftly as we can.
At this point, there is no timeline for when that cleanup will be completed.